Why have you put yourself forward to be Secretary General of the Commonwealth?
Good question. I was a parliamentarian for 16 years from 2005 to 2021. I served 4 terms, and for 8 of those years, I represented the most populous constituency in Ghana. It was so big that it was later redemarcated into 3. Before that, I worked as a marketing and communications consultant. But I switched to politics so that I could be the voice of the everyday people among whom I lived. You know, I care about people, the fisher folk, traders in small kiosks, entrepreneurs, and especially our young people and women. Their dreams are the same as the dreams of millions across the Commonwealth, from Antigua to New Zealand, Australia to Zambia, Cyprus to Canada, Singapore to Samoa. The dreams of people everywhere across the Commonwealth is to make a decent living, to take care of themselves and their families. But this is only possible if leaders like myself at national and international levels remain mindful of our obligations to the least amongst us, those whom we have pledged to represent and serve responsibly, ethically, and with integrity. With a population of 2.6 billion people and a combined annual output of over 13 trillion United States dollars, the Commonwealth is a giant at a crossroads, startled by the blinding lights and realities of the 21st century. It needs new leadership, one that can rouse member countries to make the Commonwealth the second most consequential multilateral institution that it ought to be after the United Nations, and to impact the lives of Commonwealth citizens. The Commonwealth Secretary General position is a political one. It requires extensive political and international leadership experience. I come with over 2 decades of political leadership experience and vast networks across the ECOWAS region, the UN, and on the Security Council, also working with the G7 and elsewhere across the globe and in Africa. This more than qualifies me to offer myself for the position of Secretary General.
What are some of your key achievements as Foreign Minister?
As a diplomat of long standing, I've led or been part of landmarks in diplomacy and international relations with concrete results. I led Ghana to secure a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council from 2022 to 2023. But even more important is what we achieved during that period. Working in tandem with other African members of the Council, I led the effort for the unanimous passage of Resolution 2719 in November 2023. This resolution ensures for the first time UN funding for Africa-led peace support operations. Also under my leadership, Ghana teamed up with Norway to have UN Resolution 2624 passed at the Security Council to criminalize piracy and armed robbery at sea. Under my 2-year leadership as chair of ECOWAS Council of Ministers, I oversaw successful reforms of the ECOWAS Commission, leading to significant savings which were subsequently utilized for community programs. And these occurred at a time of turbulence in the Sahel, where I led missions to countries where there had been military coups. I made strenuous and fervent efforts to negotiate for transitions towards democracy. I also played an active and leading role in the efforts towards reforming the Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance of ECOWAS. Then there's the year of return and beyond the return policies in Ghana, which were aimed at bridging the gap between Africa and the African diaspora as a whole, particularly the Caribbean, which the African Union has now designated as the sixth region of Africa. As a result of that policy, we now have record numbers of our kith and kin, Caribbean citizens visiting Ghana every year and establishing even stronger bonds with Africa. So I've worked in concert with the G7 to address issues of international peace and security, democracy, and the reform of the development cooperation framework. And I have a capacity for leading teams to achieve transformative results. And I believe it will serve the Commonwealth well in realizing the vision of a new Commonwealth, one that is relevant to all our peoples.
What are your top priorities for the Commonwealth? Is democracy one of them?
Democracy is definitely right up there at the top for me. I propose 6 areas of focus to enable the Commonwealth meet the expectations of the hundreds of millions of its citizens for a decent and fulfilling life. 1 is democracy, Commonwealth values, and the democratic dividend. Democracy and good governance are essential for peace, justice, and the promotion of human rights. They guarantee the conditions that are indispensable if we are to transform Commonwealth economies to realize inclusive development and climate resilience. On the other hand, the guarantee of high living standards for Commonwealth citizens and social protection for all generations as a dividend of democracy is key to safeguarding democracy in the face of the threats to democracy, including declining support for democracy around the world. This means going beyond the mechanics of democracy, even as we strengthen the role of Commonwealth bodies for elections and good governance. That is why I have always seen my vision for economic transformation of the Commonwealth as a major part of my commitment to strengthening Commonwealth values, democracy, and good governance. The mechanics of democracy are in and of themselves inadequate to protect it. It must deliver a reasonable harvest of economic outcomes.
How important are trade and investment for the Commonwealth? Surely these must be priorities for a Secretary-General?
Absolutely. I shall work with governments to boost trade and investment across the Commonwealth and also explore the prospects of a free trade area. I believe this is tied to realizing the democratic dividend and giving democracy tangible meaning to our citizens. Trade and investments are critical drivers for the transformation of the lives of citizens, especially women and the youth. We need to deliver on inclusive green and blue and consumer-based framework for Commonwealth trade to surpass the potential 2 trillion trade within the Commonwealth. A Commonwealth strategy for industrialization and economic diversification is a guarantee against the stagnation that is widespread across our member countries. So a boost in trade and investment will help to provide the democratic dividend, provide jobs, prosperity, hope, and trust in democracy.
30% of all young people in the world live in Commonwealth countries. Are they part of your vision?
Indeed. They constitute 60% of the Commonwealth's population of 2.68 billion people. So, education, skills, innovation, and startups for young people is definitely part of my vision. With technology, automation, artificial intelligence, and social media reshaping industries, creating jobs, and enabling collaboration, our youth need to be empowered to tap into these technologies. It's vital. Promoting knowledge-intensive innovation with skills such as adaptability and global awareness will also prepare our youth for the challenges of the 21st century. They must have a stake in constructing the future in order to sacrifice or want to protect it.
How should the Commonwealth deal with climate change?
This is definitely a big part of my vision. We're all buffeted by the heat and the floods, the cyclones and the hurricanes. It's even worse for the majority of states of the Commonwealth, the small island developing states, SIDS, and the small states. They total about 33 of the 56-member Commonwealth. It's impossible to look at a future-looking Commonwealth without a robust Commonwealth strategy on climate adaptation. We need to achieve a resilient Commonwealth by enhancing climate change leadership and technical assistance. This would definitely unlock vital finance for vulnerable countries, build blue and green economies across the Commonwealth, and help member countries overcome external shocks. And we cannot address climate change without supporting resilience building for the small island developing states and the small states because of their unique vulnerability. With limited economic opportunities and significant migration, small island developing states often face capacity constraints. So we will strengthen our common strategies to support SIDS and small states and work with other multilateral institutions to put them in a better position to access sustainable financing more easily. Also to build resilience and enhance their voice on the global stage. This is extremely important. The Bridgetown Initiative, for example, provides a comprehensive set of policies for responding to the challenges of SIDS. I've also proposed a renewable energy revolution for the Commonwealth.
You've spoken extensively about technology and its uses for democracy. How do you propose to address the growing spate of misinformation and disinformation that affects the Commonwealth?
Democracies are facing their greatest threats as governments are overwhelmed in responding to the expectations of their citizenry. This, coupled with widening inequality and the erosion of social protection systems, creates a fertile ground for the spread of misinformation and disinformation that often undermine democratic governance. Under these conditions, populists seek to subvert social order for their own purposes, taking advantage of the vulnerabilities and insecurities of populations, especially young people. There's no question that the mechanics of democratic governance are critical for functioning democracies. The Commonwealth has to do more to promote standards and protocols for regulating and shepherding information technology, as well as strengthening electoral systems, including hardening them against attacks. This would ensure robust responses to disinformation through cooperation with the tech platforms, as well as demonstrating that unconstitutional changes in government would not be allowed to stand. Ultimately, the guarantee against misinformation and disinformation is a better informed population, a population that is confident in the capacity of the state and the institutions of state to deliver prosperity for all.
What are your plans for the Secretariat of the Commonwealth if you become Secretary General?
I strongly believe that we must have an effective and well-resourced Commonwealth Secretariat one that is fit for the times in which we live. An ambitious Commonwealth should be funded at comparative levels as other multilateral organizations. I believe that credible, accountable leadership and a vision for transformation that attracts the confidence and support of Commonwealth leaders is key to make this happen. I've also proposed that member states second experts to the Secretariat as in-kind support, freeing up program resources and ensuring long-term stability. This approach would also attract the best talent in the Commonwealth to serve our member countries. To better serve our members' needs, we require greater coordination with other Commonwealth organizations, greater coordination with the United Nations, the European Union, and the private sector. I've proposed an office in the Pacific, and I've also proposed upgrading those in other regions. Reviving the confidence and support of all members is an imperative. That is, if the Secretariat is to be a viable vehicle for transformation.